Hi, you guys. How are you? We finally have some motion on what's going on with Doug Weinstein, his petition for a writ of mandamus that was sent up to the Supreme Court of Georgia. They have responded. And they said, in short, if you are short on time, no, we're going to dismiss this for now. But what we need you to do is go take it to the Superior Court. And what I think is a win here, and I'm going to ask you guys if you agree if we go through it, it seems like they don't want Judge Glanville to be the Superior Court judge that looks over this. So let's take a look. It's 4 pages. It's about 3 pages of content. And I also want to start with Doug Weinstein's tweet. He shared the whole response with us, and he said that the Supreme Court of Georgia has denied Mr. Kendrick, that's Deamonte Kendrick or Gotti, his petition for a writ of mandamus based on a requirement that we must first petition Fulton County Superior Court. Now, if you followed along with the writ of mandamus reading, Doug and in his filing, they gave an explanation of why they were going to the Supreme Court of Georgia first. They had concerns that if Judge Glanville wasn't willing to let another judge look at the motion to recuse, it would go nowhere. So they gave that reasoning. The Supreme Court's going to acknowledge it, as we're going to see, but they're saying, hey, we want you to take it to the Fulton County Superior Court anyway. And the court notes that the petition must be heard by a judge other than Glanville. And he says that we are not done seeking relief. So this is really short. As you guys are rolling in, hi to everyone. I'm going to catch up with chats after we read through it. We'll get right to it. So page 1, and you can see June 27th, 2024. That's today. That's hot and fresh off the stove. The Honorable Supreme Court met pursuant to adjournment. The following order was passed. In Deamonte Kendrick versus Earl Glanville, Chief Judge. And I can make this a little bit bigger, because if you're watching this on a phone, it's got to be super tiny. There we go. So Petitioner Deamonte Kendrick, who is facing trial on murder and other charges in Fulton County, filed directly in this court, the Supreme Court, an emergency motion seeking original relief in the form of mandamus against Chief Judge Earl Glanville and a stay of proceedings. Kendrick filed in the Superior Court a motion to recuse Chief Judge Glanville after he became aware of an alleged ex parte meeting on June 12, 2024, between the judge, the assistant district attorneys, a state's witness, and the witness's attorney. Chief Judge Glanville did not refer Kendrick's motion to recuse to another judge, see Uniform Superior Court Rule 25-3, and instead decided the motion himself and denied it. Now we've got a footnote here. So this rule, 25-3, let me make that a little bit bigger. Let's do this. When a trial judge is presented with a motion to recuse or disqualify, accompanied by an affidavit, and we went through Doug Weinstein's affidavit, the judge shall temporarily cease to act upon the merits of the matter and shall immediately determine the timeliness of the motion and the legal sufficiency of the affidavit, and make a determination, assuming any of the facts alleged in the affidavit to be true. A prima facie consideration. At face value, if we accept this as true, are the facts enough to meet the elements required? Whether recusal would be warranted. If it is found that the motion's timely, the affidavit sufficient, and that recusal would be authorized if some or all of the facts set forth in the affidavit are true, another judge shall be assigned to hear the motion to recuse. And we've all been in collective agreement that those 3 things were met. So the footnote continues. It's going to go to another page. The allegations of the... And Doug Weinstein uploaded this as images, so it's going to be a little funky. But it continues that the allegations of the motion shall stand denied automatically. The trial judge shall not otherwise oppose the motion. In reviewing a motion to recuse, the judge shall be guided by Canon 3 of the Georgia Code of Judicial Conduct. Now let's go back to the reading. We'll get back to footnote 2 when we get to it. In his emergency motion, Kendrick does not seek appellate review of the order denying his motion to recuse. That footnote says, Kendrick requested that a certificate of immediate review be granted so that he could seek appellate review, but Chief Judge Glanville denied the request. Now, that certificate of immediate review would be like directly, automatically, we can bring it up to the Supreme Court of Georgia and they can hear us out right here, right now. Instead, he seeks original relief from this court against Chief Judge Glanville, asserting that any effort to file a petition for writ of mandamus in Superior Court would result in frustration and lack of action. So this is where the Supreme Court's laying out, like, look, you didn't have a certificate of immediate review. You came to us for original relief, which means you're coming to us first. When otherwise you should have been going to the Fulton County Superior Court. We're hearing you. This is kind of, to me, this is like, we're hearing you out, Doug Weinstein and client. But here, because such a petition would go to, quote, Chief Judge Glanville, and so he has no option other than for the Georgia Supreme Court to exercise its discretion and consider his claims. We've got another footnote. To support this claim, Kendrick points to 2 other petitions for writs of mandamus he says were filed in connection with this case. One in July of 2023 and the other in October of 2023, that Kendrick says have, quote, yet to be heard by Chief Judge Glanville, despite efforts by claimant's counsel to have a hearing on the matter. Now, some of that overlaps with the civil seizure, the civil forfeiture of the jeweler that was renting jewelry to Young Thug. His property was seized when they seized property from Young Thug. And this writ of mandamus, this jeweler has filed these petitions to get his property back. And not only has he not gotten his property back, but he hasn't even gotten a response. So that's what that's referring to there. And if we go back to where we left off when we came down to this footnote, by way of relief, Kendrick requests that this court direct Chief Judge Glanville to adhere to Georgia Uniform Superior Court Rule 25-3 and assign his motion to recuse to an unbiased judge for a hearing, that the court stay the trial proceedings pending resolution of the motion to recuse, and that the court order Chief Judge Glanville to produce an unredacted transcript of the, quote, secret ex parte proceeding held on June 12, 2024. Although this court has the power to grant original relief in the nature of mandamus, so they're saying we could, even if we were the first point of contact, the first person you're asking for relief, we do have the power to grant with this type of mandamus. But if we look at the Georgia Constitution, this court has chosen to maintain its general status as an appellate court and to exercise its original jurisdiction only in extremely rare situations where need has been shown. And before this court will consider exercising, and before we'll consider doing that, the petitioner must show that he has sought and been denied access to the proper channels for seeking relief in a trial court. So they give several cases here. They've got Gay v. Owens, Brown v. Johnson, Kitchens v. State. So, in summary, the Supreme Court is a court for the correction of errors of law committed in the trial court. Moreover, it is well established that a petitioner seeking mandamus relief against a Superior Court judge may file such a petition in the appropriate Superior Court, and, quote, being the respondent, the Superior Court judge will disqualify. Another Superior Court judge will be appointed to hear and determine the matter, and the final decision may be appealed to the appropriate appellate court for review. So here we're at this point. This to me says right here, it can't be Judge Glanville that hears this. And if we think about it, that was the problem, right? That's why this petition for a writ of mandamus filed with the Supreme Court, that's why that happened. In the petition, they said, we're concerned that if we don't go right to you, this is an emergency situation, there's urgency. And the channel we're supposed to use, where we're supposed to take our issue with first and file our grievance, would be Judge Glanville himself. And he's not going to put it in front of another judge to hear this, even though he's supposed to. The Supreme Court, to me, is wagging their hand and saying, hey, we get it. We get it. But you've got to follow that channel. And we're acknowledging that it needs to be another judge and not Glanville. So, you think someone's going to show this to Judge Glanville? You think someone's texting him right now like, let another judge hear that thing, that motion for you to recuse? Because the Supreme Court seems to have an eye on you. Here, before seeking original mandamus relief from this court, Kendrick is required to show that he first sought and was denied access to the proper channels for seeking relief in Superior Court, and Kendrick has not made such a showing, as he admits that he has not filed a standalone mandamus petition against Chief Judge Glanville in Superior Court. So they're giving him a roadmap. Although Kendrick expresses concern that filing a mandamus petition in Superior Court would be futile because the petition would be assigned to Chief Judge Glanville, that is not so. As explained in Brown, if Kendrick were to file a mandamus petition in Superior Court naming Chief Judge Glanville as the respondent, which he would be the respondent, Chief Judge Glanville would be disqualified from presiding over the matter. A different judge would consider Kendrick's petition, and either party may appeal the final decision. So this is a loss in the short term. We're not going to immediately hear this. You need to follow this pathway. You need to get this denial at the Superior Court first. But it's a win, because this is the Supreme Court saying, if Chief Judge Glanville is the respondent, he will be disqualified from presiding over the very matter. It's got to be a different judge, which goes against everything that Chief Judge Glanville was trying to maintain and stand 10 toes down on over the last week and a half, 2 weeks now. So, accordingly, Kendrick's emergency petition for writ of mandamus and stay of proceedings is dismissed. And all the participating justices concur, they're on the same page, and they sign off on this. So I'm going to toggle back over. Shout out to Doug Weinstein for sharing this with us. And of course, he's saying we are not done seeking relief. And I'm going to come over to the chat. I am going to come over to the chat. That is a big face. There we go. So shout out to Doug Weinstein. Really nice that he shared this with us. What are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking? So hey, Taylor, hope you're getting through work okay. I know what that's like. F-bombs, is it time for a comfort break yet? Let's take 5. Hey, Gigi, good to see you. Yeah, this one actually, I'm so glad that it's short. We have a pretty bad thunderstorm. I don't know if you guys can hear it because, my NVIDIA broadcast will cut out loud background noise. But I'm like, what if the power flickers? So I'm glad that was a short reading and we already got through it. If you guys are going to wrap out, you don't want to stay for commentary, hit the like button on the way out. Thanks so much for tuning in. Sapphire Ridge Acres, good to see you. And Stuff, JMK, Marion Newsom. And this is because I got this fast because Doug Weinstein posted it. He said, oh, we got a response and we're going to keep going. And did you guys notice, it's small on the screen, but his profile picture on X, it looks like it's a screen caption from a law and crime trial screenshot with him sitting next to his client. So I kind of love that. Amina, so good to see you. Good to see you, JC. Tom, Solo Dove. Pam. So Judge Glanville's still on the case. And I don't know how long it'll take for the Superior Court to take a look at this. But it seems like there's an acknowledgement that it should not be Judge Glanville overseeing this motion to recuse, this hearing to recuse. Or really, I would imagine any of them, because there's like all these motions flying in all directions about Judge Glanville. Julie, it's so good to see you. Hey, Frosty. And then the what, whys, and who's all the way from Australia. Oh, that's so sweet. And then, yeah, so Julie, I do feel like this isn't really rewarding Glanville's bad behavior. I think it is taking a conservative approach, saying, hey, go and do it here first. And then when that plays out, if it doesn't play out as it should, or if it plays out and you want to appeal it, you've got 2 ways to come back to us. So, but yeah, I can't wait for the judge to try to respond. If someone asks him about this, I'm sure he's still going to be like, I don't need to refer it to another judge. I can hear it myself. And it'll be entertaining, I'm sure. And then Mike Skidmore says much of the USA legal system is corrupt. They are practicing maritime law, not constitutional law. Well, in, the other arm of it, the policing body, we speak about the police. Did you guys hear that story of the cop that got caught taking $900 from someone that they ended up arresting? And it's all caught on camera. I was thinking about doing a live with it and watching through the body cam because the police department published all the body cam. Fully transparent. It's really awesome that they did that. But you can watch this guy get caught in hot water from start to finish through these body cam videos. So, but it's That's one rare instance, I feel, of transparency where someone got caught doing it and they got rid of him. He's on the body cam. They take his gun from him and everything. But that's a rare instance. There's corrupt policing, and then there's corrupt criminal justice. It's just, I hear ya. I hear ya. Bodhi, good to see you. And then, yeah, everyone wants to send it somewhere else. And that's really so common when you're looking at banter and decisions coming from judges. So, and then Jay Dara says, I think you can get an emergency ex parte if there are kids involved. Does Copeland have kids? I don't know. But let me pull up. I don't know if this is exactly gossip. Let me pull up Thugger Daily. He posted a screenshot. Thugger Daily's been very reliable. He posted a screen caption of an Instagram story post from Lil Woody today. And since it's tall, it's going to be wonky on the screen, but I'm going to read it. It's from Woody vs. Woody, and it says, in all capitals, he is an innocent man. In real life, the demons that has been on me at certain times of my life had full control. It took years to break free of those demons, and now my conscience is eating me up. I'm not allowed to... the emoji is like the scream or talk emoji. But I pray to God that they pray and trust in him, that he reveals everything that's going on. Every single person that steps in that building has been violated, and they show us time after time that they run everything. I lost family members, my kids. That's why I thought of this when I saw your comment. And at the point of losing my sanity. And then there's two other text bubbles. One says, now come lock me back up. I ain't scared. And this is not freedom. This is a country that bullies others to comply. This is a country that takes what they want. And this is a country that will not stop until they get what they want. So I saw your comment there, and that totally made me think of it. Thinking Kenneth Copeland is Woody, you guys. And Jay Dura saying, you know, does Kenneth Copeland, does he have kids? Could there have been a reason for this ex parte because of the kids? Well, we got this Instagram post today from Woody where he's just really laying it all out. If this was him that wrote this. Again, it was Thugger Daily, and it's Woody vs. Woody. That's his Instagram handle in the screen caption. So he seems to be calling out that everybody in this building is trying to violate him. He's losing everything, his sanity, his kids. Lock me back up. I'm not scared. So very interesting timing on that. And then, oh yeah, so Jose is saying that I think they will file in Fulton County immediately, expeditiously, probably submitting it. If they can transmit it electronically, it'll probably be filed by end of day, like before midnight. And then you want to shove footnotes somewhere? Andre, so good to see you. I'm glad you love it here. Shout out to Drayson. Nola, stall tactics in play. It's like, I think judges like to kick the can down the road, back and forth. You know, that's why, especially with appeals, they take forever. And then, yeah, I repeat what Jose says. Hit that like button. And then Sapphire, I hope Glanville isn't going to do this, because it seems like he can't, but I'm not sure he won't keep trying. And Betty Boop says, and I like your take, that this is good news. At first I was disappointed, but it's a good, quote, mistake. He has it in writing that Glanville can't review the petition, and they have a clear path to appeal to the Supreme Court again. Yep, it's just the downside, the loss is, it's an extra step, it's extra time. Oh, heck yeah, the blind lawyer explains. I am a lawyer. If I can later on, I will review your video. Totally awesome. I totally am all for that. Good to see you here. And then they will recuse him after the trial is over. Right? He gets a whole nother year and a half. Then they should drag the trial out. Let him sit there. I'm just kidding. I think this trial needs to be shorter. It's expensive. Oh, and then Andre. There we go. And then Julie, the second person reporting on this. So I did see also, you guys, if you guys are on X, Kathy Roussan, I always feel like I say her name wrong, from Law and Crime, has been doing really fast updates on stuff happening in Fulton County as well. Another good person to follow over on X. As far as YouTube, there's a new YouTube watch page coming out, and I opted in for the beta view of it. It's rolling out on July 15th for everybody, but I think it's kind of glitched right now because My video suggestions have been the same 5. I'm not seeing anyone's new videos suggested to me. It just keeps showing me the same ones over and over. So I've got to go and like search my subscriptions manually and see what other people are up to. And then let's see. I want to see what you are. Oh wait, we have Sov Citizen. Who's going to represent themselves pro se? Because that's always entertaining, I think, Sov Sit stuff, but... And then Gigi, I agree that it's Weinstein. He's getting everything on the record to show Glenn. He's been lying to the masses. Well, I think the masses are calling it out, too. That's the other side of this. And then, Drayson, this is not in regard to the motion to recuse from the, like, Miss Bumpus's show cause hearing and what Miss Bumpus has going on with her own action. This is relating to Deamonte Kendrick or Yak Gotti, whichever you prefer to call him. His attorney, Doug Weinstein, he filed a petition for a writ of mandamus because he had previously filed a motion for Judge Glanville to recuse himself because of what happened with the ex parte communication. Judge Glanville said, nope, denied. And this filing of the petition was in direct relation to that motion being denied. So Ms. Bumpus is kind of in like a similar thing relating to that underlying ex parte meeting, but it's separate actions. Separate actions. And then Ptolemy says that it's a neutral decision. Georgia Supreme simply saying we play by the rules. Yep, you're right. And then let's see. Oh, Felice, thank you so much for the super chat. Felice says doing a great job and says $10. I appreciate that so much. I'm out here. Hold on, Andre says that Woody's having a come to Jesus moment. And I mean, I'm not watching him on Instagram, but I don't know if this is, you know, something new. Or if he like makes these posts every day, maybe it's nothing out of the ordinary. But if he doesn't normally make posts like this, and now he's writing in all caps, full paragraphs, because like 2 weeks ago he was posting like laying in the pool. I know that people were talking about that. That's different than writing all of this. So you could be onto something there. And then, so Peanut Butter, if you're slow, he's not off the case, but he is not supposed to be hearing his own motion to recuse hearing. It's got to be another judge. And if he refuses to disqualify himself, that's another course of action to bring it back up. Disqualify himself from hearing the motion to recuse. And if they take it to another judge in the Superior Court and they're not happy with the resolution there, then they can appeal that to the Supreme Court of Georgia. So they kind of have 2 pathways to bring it back to the Supreme Court of Georgia, but they've got to try to resolve this in the Superior Court first and get that denial or a decision that's appealable. And then they have the pathway to bring it back to the Supreme Court. So it's procedural. It's a procedural roadblock is the shortest way to say it. And then Julie Horn says, Woody knows. And then Yumiko, I'm glad you made it to Alive. Good to see you. I like being replay crew, you know, it's a good time. And then Jermaine Down says Weinstein interviewed yesterday, and he said that they were anticipating a hearing they needed to file in Superior Court. Yeah, he probably already saw it coming. And again, I do think there's a benefit here, right? Because you have Glanville really, like, quite frankly, when he's had to address, oh, Your Honor, I've got a motion. It's a motion for you to recuse. He's like, nope, that's not how it works. I'm going to deny it. But now, even if Weinstein expected the Supreme Court of Georgia to say exactly this, he's got this paper from the Supreme Court of Georgia that says Judge Glanville cannot sit over this proceeding. He cannot hear his own hearing to recuse himself. So that's it's really like a C. Like, here's a piece of paper that says you're wrong, Judge Glanville. So, and then yeah, Glanville, this is a good time to talk about this. So Commissioner Sleer is saying that Glanville is stalling by kicking the show cause to July. So guys, if you haven't heard the rumblings over the last week, they've really been reviewing Woody's interviews and jail phone calls with the jury out. The jury's not supposed to come back until July 8th. But there was supposed to be a show cause hearing. The one that they said Caleb Bumpus needs to show up. Oh, and all the other parties that were present. They rescheduled that. That was supposed to be this week, and Caleb Bumpus flew into town to be there. And then last minute, they rescheduled that until, I believe, July 3rd. So kicking that can down the road, just like Commissioner Sleer is reminding us of here. And then he also says that everyone has to keep, or she, everyone has to keep quiet about contents of meeting until it happens. But hey, he kicked it down the road, and now that gives Doug Weinstein this time to file something with the Superior Court. And then Tim K has some context here. Tim says that he, Woody, or Woody, I guess I've been saying his name wrong. It's not Woody. It's Woody. So I feel bad, but I pronounce names wrong all the time. But Woody has kids. If we remember, they shot at him, his baby mama, and his kid. And then he was out for Father's Day. And they told him to enjoy it when he was testifying. Yeah. And I agree, Bodie. So judges have to screw up many times for many years for anyone to do something. So if you've been watching the Judge Christina Peterson, who the Supreme Court of Georgia just ordered the removal of, it had nothing to do, nothing in their order related to the recent arrest where she was fighting outside the Fulton Club and hit an officer and was arrested, and then had that viral, body cam where she's saying, like, I'm not telling you who I am, just take me down to the station like you always do. There were complaints coming forward about her since 2021, and it took all the way until 2024 for the Judicial Qualifications Commission to issue their report, for the Supreme Court to hear it, and then order a ruling that she needs to be removed from the bench. And for 7 years, not permanently. So definitely takes a very long time. And in that situation, if you guys haven't caught up, I did do a video on it, pulling out the things that relate to what's going on in the YSL trial. But 2 of the 4 key issues that the Supreme Court and the Judicial Qualification Commission's board took with what Judge Peterson was doing. 2 of those things, one was an improper ex parte communication, dealing with clerk scheduling and dates of notice and backdating something in probate court because she's a probate judge. The other was she held someone in contempt for the maximum allowable time when there was no reason or basis to give that type of penalty with the max amount of time. What did we see? We have Judge Glanville having his issue with an improper ex parte meeting that wasn't disclosed. And we also have Judge Glanville sentencing Brian Steele to the maximum 20 days of contempt. So 2 very similar things of those 4 key issues that they found as a whole were enough to order removal of Judge Christina Peterson from the bench. So, yeah, it took a while. There had to be a lot of screw-ups. But we just saw it finally happen with Judge Christina Peterson. It took a couple years and a couple of wrongdoings. And then the indecisive wig wearer, I love that. That's a hilarious name. Thank you for running through this for us. No problem. Thanks for tuning in and having the conversation too. Julie doesn't know what X is. I still say Twitter. I'm like, every time I'm about to say Twitter, I have to like pause and be like, it's X. And then Aisha Kenya, good to see you. I've been seeing you over in TLA's chats. We've been over there chatting for a while, so good to see you over here. And then Eve, does anyone know if Melnick is back representing Woody? I mean, at this point, I know Kayla Bumpus hasn't been, but I don't think, since we haven't had Woody in the courtroom all week, if he's going to stand in and be present for more testimony as Woody continues, his testimony on the stand, well, I don't think we'd really know until the jury's back in. So like July 8th would be when we can see if he's going to have counsel in the courtroom or not. And you guys are being so nice. There's so many compliments in here. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Sapphire. And thank you, Julie. And then, yeah, Random, I do think that this is a win for justice. I don't have a problem with the process being followed. I do just think it's 2024, and I think there's a lot of things that could be done to streamline and expedite the court calendar in general. Some things just take so long. And then you don't know Trek sends $2. Thank you so much, Trek. Or you don't know Trek, so I don't know you, so I can't say your name. And then I think we're all in agreement. They don't want the smoke. It's pretty much a win. It's a little bit neutral, but it's pretty much a win. Oh, so Bodhi. So the ruling about Judge Peterson, I think it was on like page like 52 through 60. they talk about an ex parte communication. It's not a meeting. It was a communication that her clerk had with a petitioner, someone involved in an estate settlement probate case. It was just a communication, not a whole meeting. But they were having a communication with someone about scheduling and didn't notify the other parties. And the Supreme Court took issue with that. Because you're still not supposed to do that. You're supposed to notify all parties. So the judge wasn't the one having the communication. It was the clerk, but they said that that falls under the umbrella of the judge's responsibility. If you pull up the document, do a search, like a find in document, a control F, and just search the phrase ex parte, and it'll take you to the section. But it was really interesting because I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to do something like that, to not notify a party of scheduling or whatever. But with this ex parte that we're talking about with Judge Glanville, you're dealing with something with severe violations of constitutional rights, Brady violations, Giglio violations. I mean, it seems like if we look at that affidavit on its face, they were in there suborning perjury. They said, if you go up there and lie, we're not going to prosecute you. Oh, well, I'm going to go up there and say, I killed this person. You're trying to charge someone else with killing. Oh, we'll prosecute you with that if you say that. They don't disclose the nature of this type of agreement or conversation that was going on to the defense. To me, it's like complete violation of someone's basic rights afforded to them by the Constitution. So if the Supreme Court took issue with a clerk having an ex parte communication, and they held a judge responsible for that, I'd be very curious to see their analysis of what Judge Glanville and this ex parte meeting involved in the YSL trial. I would love to see what they say. And Aisha, yep, Bumpus said she has a lot to say. Can't wait till she can fully tell the story. So you guys, if you want to check out some Kayla Bumpus interviews, last week she did one with Talk That Law, and I believe either at the beginning of this week, she did an interview with the lead attorney, and he clipped it. So you don't need to watch a 6-hour stream. You can go and watch just the part where she was on. And then yesterday, Law and Crime did an interview with her. It was Anjanette Levy. So you can watch that as well. And yesterday, she'd already found out that they kicked this show cause hearing down the road after she flew in town for it. So it's pretty interesting to watch her say, like, I was here for it. And then Judge Glanville moved it. And then Frank, thanks for the kind words, says, loving your vids and the info that you put out. Keep up the great work. And shout out, this all came from Doug Weinstein, this info. I'm just here so we can chat about it as a chat room. And then MC says, is it possible that Judge Thug... I get tripped up with that because I'm like, Young Thug? No, they mean Judge Glanville. Could be within his rights to have that meeting. He's acting like he hasn't got a problem. Maybe he will, okay? A lot of people went along with this dodgy meeting. And that's the other part, right? We can't forget that the prosecution had a responsibility to make these proper disclosures. You know, if there's Brady information discussed during that meeting, including any deals or arrangements or agreements made, it should have been disclosed. Should have been disclosed to the defense. Same thing with anything Giglio related. So we are aware that we're willing to put a witness on the stand that will not tell the truth. According to Giglio, we're supposed to let the defense know that. We're not supposed to just go and put them up there and not tell somebody. So let us not forget that the prosecution wasn't really doing the right thing either. It's not just Judge Glanville. And then Janine, good to see you. And then Tasker. So what is it with the proceedings to halt? Do you mean the actual hearings itself? A lot of that has slowed down because they're reviewing hours and hours of police interviews, which they finally completed their review to see what they're going to play in front of a jury. And they've been working on jailhouse calls, and then courts closed for the rest of the week. And then next week they've got some other matters to take up. So if you feel like there's a slowdown in the actual daily trial, it's because they've been doing all this other stuff with the jury out. The jury won't be back until July 8th. So it definitely seems like slower news because they've been going through these grueling hours of very long interrogation videos and phone calls. And then, let's see. I want to catch up with you guys. Thanks so much for your super chat. The blind lawyer says, but for cameras, without cameras, we wouldn't know. Yeah, and I think that's a really, really good point. You know, I think part of it too is it's a high profile case. So not only is it televised, but there also are multiple eyes. And when you have more people paying attention to something, you know, I can notice something that maybe you might not notice. And then you'll notice something that I didn't notice. And then we get into a chat room on YouTube with 1,300 people in it. Shout out to you guys. And you can add these layers together. And you can start saying like, well, this looks like that. Oh, and didn't that also happen last week? And you add these layers together and the transparency really snowballs when there's something kind of fishy taking place. So I appreciate your super chat, and heck yeah, I'm all for transparency in courtrooms. And then Quicksilver, I'm real late. That's okay. And then, yeah, YouTube will do that with the unsubbing. I notice sometimes, like, people that I used to watch all the time, I'll see someone else talk about their content, and I'll be like, I didn't get a notification for that. And then I'll go and look, and, like, they're just, like, in the abyss out there. I have to resubscribe and hit the bell. So I don't know why that happens, but I've had it happen to me. Benjamin Lewis, good to see you. And then Firsthand News says, this will either be an acquittal or a mistrial. The jurors are going to hear this stuff. It's not like they are sequestered. And I like to believe that jurors want to do the right thing. And I also think, like, in some respect, a juror might be so over it after sitting for hours and hours. They probably, even if they aren't trying to follow the rule, they might just have no interest in hearing more about this case than what they're already subjected to. But when you get to a case that's like this, it's in the news everywhere. And it's so long. How can you not bump into outside news about it? Like, that's really tough. And then I don't think it would be just to sequester a jury for 2 years. Can you imagine if you were a juror on this trial and you were sequestered this whole time? Holy moly. Oh my god, perfect timing. So Todd sends a $1.99 super chat and says, so thank you for your super chat, but perfect timing, because Todd says, how does a juror survive in such a long trial, specifically money-wise? So it looks like they get a $25 pay per day, plus a $25 stipend for things like food expenses and travel expenses. So at best, that's about $50 a day, and you know, there's been some days where they're told to come late or they're able to leave early, but if really that's like a 9 to 5 type of thing, that's less than $10 an hour at best. If we considered only $25 a pay, because a stipend for expenses is not pay, they're getting like a couple dollars an hour. Like, would you want your future to be in the hands of someone that's forced to sit for weeks and weeks and weeks for months, that's making less than $5 an hour? Living in Atlanta, which isn't really one of the lowest cost of living places to be. That's a rough question. Thank you for your super chat while we're talking about money too. And a great question. And then, let's see. Ah, Felicia, good to see you. I saw you over in Dana's channel yesterday too. And I was like, that's Felicia. And then, let's see. Has Glanville ever recused himself in the past? You know, Nick, I'm not sure. I know, and I've had a lot of people refer me to, you know, a case where he had where, like, a killer, someone died, and the killer got away with it. And there's this idea that that case is looming over him. And now he's almost overcorrecting. He's so focused on not making that same mistake of letting someone get away with something that he's oversteered. And in this instance, in this case, he's like, make it work, make it stick by any means necessary. Which isn't really the proper way to be a judge, right? That's not how you're supposed to rule over things. You're not supposed to have that direction or lean in mind. But I guess from a human understanding, what is causing this? What is the explanation? What's going on back here? That could be a factor. So I don't know if he's recused himself in the past. You know, sometimes people recuse themselves just because, you know, district changes or for scheduling. But I don't know if he's recused himself in response to someone saying, you're not doing a great job here, you gotta go. So it'd be interesting to look and see, though. And then, let's see, you guys. Right? So, like, it's just impossible. So AJ Taylor says the jury's been watching. It's like, how could you not, even if you wanted not to? And then, yeah, that's true. There had to have been more than one ex parte communication. And I really think back just to Trontavious Stevens with YSL Slug. He was in prison. Well, he was in jail. He's being held without a bond hearing. And he kept asking for one. And they don't give him one. And then they drop a plea deal in front of him. I don't think that these agreements, whether they're discussed in a chamber meeting with Judge Glanville while the defense isn't present, or they're snuck in while someone's sitting in jail, a jail that's falling apart for 7 months without a bond hearing. Seems like there's a lot of similar moves happening repeatedly. And I don't think it's a good look. I don't think it's just. And heck yeah, we're going to say it again. So Donald says not only the judge, but also the prosecution as well. The prostitution. I don't know if that was a typo, or if you did that as like a wordplay, but that's funny. And then hold on, you heard Judge Suge Knight? That's funny too. Transplanted Texan, good to see you. And then heck yeah, and Steph is saying, don't forget to hit the like button. Big Trelly, good to see you. Good to see you. And yeah, I'm glad to come back and have some stuff with the YSL trial. I was not going to cover hearings about those long interviews. I'll see what the jury sees. And then, thanks. It's low maintenance. And then the grammar in the tweet is not typically... My first response, BB, is what grammar? I don't think there was a single period in there. Hold on, let's go back to it. Oh, wait, there's 2 periods. One at the end of this little thing at the bottom, and one at the end of this paragraph. So technically, that's the only grammar there. That is the only grammar. And then, yeah. And then, heck yeah, Aisha, $25 is nothing to put your life on hold for. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And I always wonder, if you guys were on a jury, if you guys were on trial, would you want an attorney on your jury panel? Would you want an attorney on your jury panel? Because I think some people, maybe usually the prosecutors, will try to find a reason to strike that type of juror. But what do you guys think? Me, I would be happy with most of the attorneys that I know. Even if we have different views on different hobbies, different interests in life, I'd be pretty happy having an attorney on my jury. And then Will Crump with the $5. Thank you so much. Says, does this mean a local judge who might be friends with Glanville will have to hear the writ? That's a good question too. As there's no way that you don't know somebody when you're in that type of position. You guys are often in the same buildings. You guys go to meetings together. You don't just not know each other. But is that a friendship? Is that a friendship that this other judge will let get in the way of using proper discretion? I don't know, but that's really good food for thought. That's kind of like, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this other judge, because now Judge Glanville's not supposed to hear it, even though he insisted he could. The Supreme Court has said, nope. But what do you guys think? Do you think this other Superior Court judge could try to do a favor to Glanville and just say, nope? Or what if there is not even a friendship relationship, but the judge just doesn't want to be the one that says, yes, another judge should recuse themselves? They just don't want to be that person that says that. That could be the reason they make a decision that says, nope, sorry, Deamonte, Kendrick, and Doug Weinstein. But again, no matter the resolution, once they get that resolution, now Doug Weinstein can take his appeal, take this petition for a writ of mandamus back up to the Georgia Supreme Court. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because it could stop everything right there. It could give a positive resolution for Deamonte Kendrick, and it won't be necessary to take it higher. But there's still 2 avenues where it could be a bad resolution and they can take it to the Supreme Court, which again, then you got to deal with time. It'll take longer. And then yeah, so Robert is saying that Are you sure that you're aware of what the contents of the ex parte meeting was about, considering Glanville has implied to Steele that what was said would stand under appeal? Now, it could be true that what's in these affidavits could be completely wrong on their face, and maybe they're made in bad faith. But what really stands out to me is when you were watching these oral arguments about the motions to recuse or the initial inquiry that Brian Steele made, the certain language, the words that Judge Glanville would choose to say, we don't know what happened. When you were part of something, when you were a party, a present party, and your response to being questioned about it is to act like you don't know what took place or what happened, where you were present, to me it seems like words are coming out of your mouth to cover something up, to play the denial game, to play smoke and mirrors. Because his verbiage wasn't, look, I know what happened, and what happened was acceptable, and I can't discuss this with you in court at this time. He didn't say that, though. He said, we don't know what took place. We don't know what was said. We don't know what happened. And I saw that same, and it's my opinion, my read. I don't have a reason to just say flat out that these affidavits attached to these motions are lies or false. And I'd also re-emphasize here that in considering a motion to recuse, there's supposed to be a prima facie consideration. It's supposed to be accepted at face value for the purpose of deciding if Judge Glanville can be the one to hear this motion to recuse. So it doesn't really matter if he knows. He still needs to read it at face value and decide, well, if at face value the things in this affidavit that are being alleged that happened at this ex parte meeting, if at face value these things meet the 3 elements required for me to recuse and let someone else hear this motion, I've got to let someone else hear the motion. And I think that's the issue here, because Judge Glanville didn't even approach that with the prima facie consideration. So I've got a few, perceptions of how he's handled this with oral arguments where I don't think he comes off as credible. It seems like he's just trying to keep things behind closed doors without seeming credible in his advocacy that I don't have to disclose what happened. But I would also argue that no matter what happened, the existence of the meeting at all should have been disclosed to the defense, if not by the judge, by at least the prosecution. So there's a lot there. This is a great food for thought, because, you never know. We could find out something totally new that might change our minds. But I still don't think it would undo, the judge should have let someone else hear the recusal motion. That would have solved a lot, I think. That would have brought everyone down a level a little bit. And Dre Mac, good to see you with the $9.99. Always good to see you over here. The Dre Mac Show, guys. If you are, this is not my area of expertise, but comics, movies, entertainment, his show is great, covers it all. If I need to pretend I'm informed or know what's going on with a certain series, I know I can go to Dre Mac's channel, and I always have a good time. Their conversations are really great. But I am not the movie expert. Dre Mac is. I appreciate your support, Dre Mac. And then let's see. And then the blind lawyer says, attorneys often kicked off, and yes, a local judge. Yeah, so I'm wondering, I don't think that there's an issue with the judge maybe being friends with this other local judge that might hear this, but I just think it could be reasonable that a local judge doesn't want to kick another local judge off, right? And maybe that's not the right decision, but if we approach it like a human, if we have some empathy, we can kind of see that as being a possibility. And then, yeah, attorneys are definitely often kicked off of jury panels, and I think typically I don't know, I guess it depends on the attorney's main areas of practice. But if I was a prosecutor and it was an attorney that represents indigent clients in criminal defense, I'd be like, oh, they gotta go. They're gonna sympathize with the defendant. The prosecution probably doesn't want that type of attorney on the case. If it's a business law attorney and it's a criminal case, maybe the prosecution won't care. But yeah, I think voir dire is really interesting. I like jury selection. I think it's a whole science. And then let's see. The transplanted Texan says, we're talking Fulton County. I'd be surprised if someone on Superior Court rules in favor of Weinstein against Judge G. Yeah, when we say local, that also means Fulton. So, And then, so let's see. Let me know what time zone you are, blind lawyer, and actually shoot me an email. It's Kat, 2 T's, so K-A-T-T. Let me give you an easier one. Kat@katwagner.com. W-A-G-N-E-R. Shoot me an email and we can schedule something, because I've got something to do midday Eastern time Saturday. But heck yeah, we can have an ex parte party. Talk some law. And then Transplanted Texan says the court reporter was not in Judge G's chamber the entire time. Oh. In the Steele motion, Exhibit B, point 6. That's not good, because that means it's not recorded. Unless there was like an audio recording at least. But still. Holy crap, that's not great. That is not great. And then let's see. So Gigi says lawyers take the oath to uphold the Constitution, forget their feelings about their colleagues. And then in all caps, Green Eggs No Ham says, Glanville just needs to do the right thing. That is absolutely right. And then, yeah, I think that's a great note to end it on there. Ah, and yes, this too. Is that why Glanville can only provide a portion of the scripts? But he did say he wanted to go through and see what he could let them see. So it seems like he wanted to do some curation as well, not just they're already incomplete. It seems like he also wants to do some additional curation before they're provided. So, heck yeah. Oh, we had a Luella, a jury story. So Luella says the longest trial I was on jury was 6 months. Oh my gosh. That was hell. I lost my job and only paid $6 a day. I would lose my mind on this one. I think this trial was a mistake, should not be a RICO. And again, it's a state pursuing this RICO. It's not the feds. The feds have a pretty high win rate with the cases that they actually take. So on one hand, would they have made this into a case? Would they have taken it? And on the other, if they took it, would they have done it better? Would it look a lot different than this? I mean, the downside is if it was a federal case, there'd be no cameras in the courtroom. It'd be a lot less transparent for us. But, you know. But yeah, that's crazy, Luella. That sounds like... losing your job is hard enough, but then to only be making $6 a day while you have to be somewhere instead of being able to look for and start another job, that's so awful. Like, I'm sorry you were, like, the recipient. You were on the receiving end of that. And it's like, what does that mean for where we put our eggs in the jury basket? We put our 12 eggs for most criminal cases, right? A jury of 12 plus the alternates. And these people are losing their jobs. They're describing it as being hell. They're getting pennies. And that's who can be in charge with your life. Like, or even if it's not criminal, they could be in charge with a civil lawsuit where the implications, the verdict of that type of civil action can essentially change the entire course of your life. That's crazy, Luella. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't mind. They've never picked me to serve on a jury. I've been summoned twice, and then when I call, they're like, they don't even bring me in the building. And I'm like, you know what? I would do it. And then I see stuff like this, and I'm like, holy crap. Holy crap. And then Green Eggs and Ham says if the court reporter was not there, then what is he actually redacting? $1 million question. $1 million question. So Frank, I hope your dinner was awesome. Thanks for tuning in. And then let's see. No, so Matt, I am not a lawyer. I've done a lot of grunt work for court research. I do a lot of like real estate research, probate research, and I've done it for, I worked for a company that sourced records from 3,000 counties across the country. So I've been through all the ins and outs of dealing with clerks, dealing with places that had great systems, efficient systems, and not so good systems. I've had to find rules in multiple localities for, you know, what is the public disclosure process in this area. And I've had to educate the clerks and the county recorders on their local laws sometimes. So I never went to law school. I'd actually love to because I do want to pursue some type of advocacy work for projects like the Innocence Project. But I am not a lawyer. I describe myself as like the mouse that's good at the research, like the librarian. And sometimes you have to go and find these statutes to say, you are supposed to provide me with this. Should be public record, and I'm doing the request correctly. And this is the time frame you're supposed to respond to me within. So I'm the grunt work, but not a lawyer. And then let's see. My pronouns, I told you so. Since the $9.99 super chat. That is a hilarious name. I told you so. That's like a little bit of the theme, what they're going to take with this. This is my fake Supreme Court decision that Doug Weinstein posted. They're going to run over. They're going to go to Glanville and they're going to be like, I told you so. So thanks for your support. Just for the love of the game with the $9.99. And then let's see. Yeah, transplanted Texan. It's overlooked by me, and that's huge because I overlooked that. So shout out to you again, and shout out to Green Eggs and Ham for like honing in on that too in here now that you've brought it up, because that's what I was talking about earlier. You get people in a chat room like this pointing out details that one person sees. And transplanted Texan, you might not have been in here when I went on that tangent, but we all notice different things, and you just came in here with something that I didn't notice, and that Green Eggs no ham didn't notice. And you pointed it out, and now the gears are turning. And that's why transparency in the courtrooms is great. Being able to have open discourse and conversations about things is even better. And then 3, I'd say once we learn something new, we've got to always be amenable, right? And I'm sorry, I forget the username from earlier, but the person who said, well, what if Judge Glanville really has a good reason for why this meeting was so secretive? Like, what if it wasn't secret and a bomb was going to go off or something like that, right? There's a good reason somewhere for it. Well, if we learn that information, we've all got to be amenable to new information. Even if that means we need to adjust where we planted our feet. So I definitely appreciate you coming in here, Transplanted Texan, and dropping that nugget in here. And then I say it all the time. Oh, I would love to do like the research, the behind the scenes work. But I think in a courtroom, I'd turn into a cherry red tomato. And I don't know. You've ever heard the term someone had to pause and buffer? I can picture myself being mid-argument and just like losing my train of thought and then just being like, and I would be mortified. I would be so mortified. But some people are really talented with, arguing in court, knowing when they have to quickly pull up something, recall something, cite a certain case. Other people are really good at telling a story. If you guys are following the Karen Reed trial, whatever your stance is, I think that Andrew Jackson has gotten a lot of compliments on the way he did his closing, because it was clear and it took them through like a timeline, kind of like a storyline of everything that he, from his perspective as a defense attorney, wanted the jury to consider. And then unfortunately for the prosecution, Lally, and I didn't catch all of the beginning of the trial, so I could be missing things, but Lally focused on a quotation. He opened with a quotation, which is probably the strongest thing he could do. But after that, he wasn't really telling the jury, here's the evidence in order and how it adds up to Karen Reed being guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. He didn't do a good job telling the story. And I always think there's so many different skills that different attorneys do really well. Me, I'd be the researcher. I wouldn't be great in court. I wouldn't be good on the trial floor. I'd probably get like stumped and just go blank. And then let's see. So I told you so says, hey Kat, in honor of the late Herman Cain, love your excellent legal analysis. Thanks for helping bring to light what should be glaring the judicial corruption in Fulton County and other jurisdictions. Well, heck yeah. If there's something I can do, if I'm going to research something anyway, I have no problem. And actually, I'm really passionate about, especially since now YouTube has started. I never thought I'd have a YouTube channel, but I used to share some things on X and even a little bit of Facebook. I don't use Facebook anymore. But if I'm going to do the research anyway, it takes time. So let me put it so someone else can find it. And I really appreciate comments like this. I appreciate your support. Thanks for sending the super chat. But also knowing that it's worth it to like do content like this, bring people together, and kind of create these short the shortcut between, well, here's the document, now we can all look at it, instead of not knowing how to get the document, not knowing how to research through the courts and find the actual exhibits and the evidence or the news about what's going on. Super, super important to me. And I've got 2 parts of it done, but there is a huge story in Tennessee, Johnson City. There's a major police cover-up. It's being alleged that police were being paid off to protect a businessman who is a serial R-word. And it's been going on for like 5 years now. Or really since back, I think 2018 was the first people started coming forward with accusations. And they started to collect some information about a Robert Vo. They gave him a fake name, a pseudonym. And one U.S. District Attorney, Kat Dahl, Kat with 1 T, she tried to raise attention. And she said, look, we've got to look at this guy. We've got to investigate him. We've got to get these warrants. She kept getting the no. In fact, she ended up being like fired. She was let go. And they said it was because of performance. But she's had, for years now, she's had this ongoing lawsuit regarding retaliation. And now, fast forward to 2024, this man is a 2-time fugitive. And it seems like he has over 50 victims, women and children. And there's, I guess, a paper trail. There's lawsuits against Johnson City Police Department because apparently he was making payments of like $2,000 a week to different police officers so they wouldn't investigate or arrest him when someone was found unconscious. A woman fell out of his 5-story window and she had to be hospitalized. She was sedated for 3 weeks. They did a SANE test, but they didn't test her for any, R-word drugs. She filed a lawsuit today. It's been 5 years. She's the 3rd person to file a lawsuit against the city, the police department, for their negligence. But there's over 50 victims in total. And we don't hear about it. And it's something that's driving me nuts. I've got 2 videos already put together with the early days of it. I've got to do the second half, what leads us up to today. But I can't wait for you guys to hear the story because I'm surprised it is not blasted in the news everywhere. It should be blasted in the news everywhere. There's multiple layers of cover-up and corruption going on there. Just insane. Just insane. And that's all I'm going to say, but it is Sean Williams, S-E-A-N, is the criminal. They really ended up picking him up because he had ammunition. It wasn't even because of what they found out about his victims. But now that they finally know that and they have him arrested anyway, he's set to stand trial in 2 months. He's tried to get rid of like 4 or 5 attorneys already. But the judge is like, look, if you get rid of your next attorney, you're representing yourself. The news isn't everywhere like it should be. I mean, that's insane. And this is why I think, YouTube creators, I recently became one, but I've always, in the last 5 years, I've come to YouTube to hear about this type of thing that isn't being discussed as it should be elsewhere. So I appreciate you so much for your super chats and support today and love this thought here. I really, really do. I get pissed off. I get so mad when I think about these major stories, these major stories, and they're not being talked about anywhere. It's insane. And I'm not kidding, guys. It's like the equation of this story, it has all the things that if you saw a news headline actually written about it, and there's 4 journalists and a couple activists that are really pounding the pavement, doing boots on the ground work to try to raise awareness and attention here on this issue. But major outlets haven't touched it. But it has all the things, if you saw a headline about a woman falling from a 5-story building, would you not click that? Would you not click fugitive escapes from police van? Would that not sell news stories and give clicks? There's all the recipe here for the things that would normally sell and would normally be put into these headlines and these stories for the media to run and want to talk about. But they don't want to touch it because it makes an entire city and their policing and criminal justice system look really messed up. So that's my summary, my top level take on it. You will see some videos coming about that. It's not light stuff, so I will recommend if things affect you really easily when you see me publish something about Johnson City and Sean Williams, don't tune into those videos. I keep it vanilla. I'm not showing anything crazy. But it will piss you off. And it should piss you off. But it's enough to know that it exists without doing the deep dive. So if you're weary, you don't need to tune into that content. Just hit the like button and go back out. But yeah. Yeah, Eugenia, that's exactly it. If it's not being reported, this person has connections to bigwigs and big money. And that's exactly it. He was a very, very wealthy business owner. So, and then Sonia saying that she also heard that the court reporter was not in the meeting the entire time. And then also that the deputies had to turn their body cams off at certain points of the meeting. That part I've heard as well. And that's just like, I think when we read that, I don't remember what motion that was part of, but I think when we read that, the whole chat on that live stream, all the caps, they're like, what? Oh my God. Cause it's like, how's that okay? How's that okay? Because when you turn off a body cam, it's not like you as the deputies not witnessing this anymore. You're still hearing it with your own senses. So if the deputy's a problem, turning off the body cam doesn't solve that problem. Turning off the body cam means people outside can't hear about it. So, definitely not a good look. Sheed, good to see you. Same Elf, good to see you. And Ona Wall, good to see you. And then I Told You So says, sorry, Kat, the first $9.99, I accidentally left it blank. Oh, okay. Well, sorry you sent a blank super chat. I am trying to look through comments, even if you're not paying for them. Some of these chats get really busy, and it's a lot of fun. But in general, guys, if I miss your comments, I'm sorry. But I do try to talk with everybody as practically possible. But I appreciate you again. I told you so. You're saying here, but keep it anyway. Here's a bonus $4.99. It was supposed to be in honor of Herman Cain's 999 plan. Oh, that's awesome. See, I'm slow, so I'm glad you clarified, because things like that, little things like that, don't always click for me. But that's really awesome. And then, bigger, deeper pockets, that's what make things disappear. Yeah, and there was like a weird story with this guy, Sean Williams, where he was like giving deeds to people that were like his ex-assistants, maybe to keep quiet. So he was like dealing with property, not just like cash payments. So, when you've got a lot of money, you've got a lot of ways to move things. I always think of like, art. Art is subjective, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but there are certain things like, why would someone pay like $20 million for this painting of like a dot on a canvas? And then you get the theories like, it could just be to launder or move some money around without it being an issue, But hey, I'm not in a situation to know or relate to that problem. So I'm only speculating. I don't have any personal knowledge. And then Lee Lance, good to see you in alive. And then Elf, thanks for your super sticker. Hold on, I gotta pull it up on YouTube. StreamYard doesn't show me what kind of sticker it is. Let me go to my own YouTube channel. But I appreciate you, Elf. I see you in some of my lives from time to time, and I also see you in other chats, and I love chatting with you in other places. And then speaking of that, do you guys have any other, what are you guys going to watch after this? What other content creators, what other channels? Because I'll read out some suggestions. What are you watching tonight? I imagine that Potentially Criminal is going to be, he usually does a Thursday night stream. I imagine tonight, probably some conversation about SCOTUS rulings that came down, and any other major legal happenings. Maybe even he'll talk about this. Aisha says not watching the debate. Oh yeah, that's gonna be like every channel. Although I'm sure CNN, because CNN's the one airing it, right? If you're trying to watch a YouTube content creator that's like stream sniping the debate, I know it sounds like it should be news and fair use, but I really think CNN's gonna be like copyright, because it's really a full-blown broadcast production. It's going to be the same as if you were trying to stream snipe an NBA game. They're going to take that down right away. So try to find like a bootleg, like a crack streams link to watch the debate on, because if you're watching it through a YouTuber, it might get cut. Or does CNN stream it right on YouTube? They should if they don't. They'll miss out a lot of viewership if they don't make it accessible on their own channel. But yeah, you're gonna watch the debate. There's also, I saw like Vegas, they have parlays and bets for everything. But I saw they had like bets on who was going to be the first candidate to take a drink of water. Is it going to be Biden or is it going to be Trump? Who's going to be the first one to wipe sweat off their head? And they've got like these ridiculously like specific things that you can bet on about the debate. And it's like, that sounds like my kind of fun. Like, I'm stupid like that. And lots of commercials. They treat it like the Super Bowl, don't they? It's like the political Super Bowl. And then Christine Covey, good to see you. We're winding down on the end of this stream, but the substance of it was pretty quick at the beginning. If you just want a roundup of what happened in, this new ruling from the Supreme Court, basically said, hey, take it to the Superior Court, and if you don't like that resolution, appeal it. And if Judge Glanville doesn't let someone else hear it, a different judge hear it, as he should, then it's immediately appealable. Bring it right back to us. But you got to do that first, and then you can bring it to us. So it was like a win, but a loss for the sake of time. And then, let's see. Oh, yeah, that's true, guys. Go to Rumble. So the blind lawyer, thanks for your super chat, says Rumble making bank. Go there for the debate. So Rumble, yeah, they really don't like kick off. They don't have like the same like YouTube trigger for certain copyright things. So that is super, super true. That is super true. And then Triggered says that the CNN streams it right on their website. So that's good to know, but sometimes those web-based video players suck. So they're like wonky, they like stretch your screen out all weird, they get messed up when an ad plays. So I like YouTube's interface, I do, but this is really a good one too. If you want something sort of similar to YouTube, I think Rumble's a little bit glitchy sometimes, but not like a website video player. It might be a good time to give Rumble a try, because you could watch with a different creator, not through CNN if you want to avoid some of the commercials and be able to see commentary, and they won't kick it down the way YouTube will. That's a really, really good suggestion there. And then Dystopian Justice, good to see you. So we've got Toronto police issues. They've always resisted body cams. Oh, so you guys don't have body cams in Toronto. And an example you give is don't arrest the judge for DUI, drive him home in his own car, no notebook entry. Yeah, that's the exact opposite. Dystopian, I'm not sure if you heard earlier in the stream when I mentioned if you search $900 cop, a police department in the United States published all body cam relating to an arrest and interrogations and taking the cop's gun and badge, arresting him because he took $900 from someone that was pulled over and arrested. They put all of it transparently on their YouTube channel. I really might do a live and just watch through it. And we'll get to watch this guy like try to sneak, try to hide his sticky fingers, and then know that they know he took the money and he's walking around awkwardly waiting to see if they're going to fire or do anything to him or not. Like you can see it's palpable. So we got to get together this weekend and do a live stream on the $900 cop guy. Watch those, because I want to see you guys point out his body reaction, his language. And then Viva Fry. Okay, yeah, so I don't know D-Day Cobra, but I know Viva Fry. I've seen some Viva Fry content. So Viva Fry is also over on Rumble. Yeah, that makes sense, because he was one of the first major creators to go over there. So I'll take your word for D-Day Cobra. I don't know anything. But Viva Fry is a good channel if you want commentary with the debate over on Rumble. And if he does, I wonder if Viva Fry will try to stream on YouTube. I wonder if he'll risk the strike. It doesn't really stick as a strike if you don't appeal it, so he might stream on YouTube a little bit too. And then let's see. So Transplanted Texan is suggesting Professor Nez with guest Dear Woke Christian are streaming the debate with commentary on the Green Channel. So wait, by Green Channel do you mean DWC Dear Woke Christian because he does the green branding, or is that the name, the Green Channel? So guys, Professor Nez is one channel name, and Dear Woke Christian is another channel name. And they do great political content and commentary, both of them. But I do want to get clarification if you mean green, because if you mean green as in Dear Woke, they're going to be on Dear Woke's channel together. I want to make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. And then Tim Pool, where is he streaming that? Because if you want a big chat room, if wherever Tim Pool is streaming, that's probably going to be one of the biggest chat rooms, right? Because his viewership is always like top. Right? So if you want like a big noisy chat room, go to like a big creator like that. And then I Told You So says, I'm not big on being in front of camera, but would love to feed legal stories from west of the Rockies. Do you have a business contact info? Keep up the good work. Gotta bounce after your reply. So Kat, that's Katt, at KatWagner, WAGNER.com. So I'll get all those emails. And yeah, any stories you guys want to send over, we'll talk about it. I do get busy, and I get a backlog of things that I want to look at and don't get the time to do. So don't be offended if, days go by. But definitely appreciate anything that you're interested in. Send it my way. And then let's see. Robert G. Gavea, right? Rob Gavea. How do you spell his name? How do you spell his name? I think Robert Gavea. I think if you do GOUV, YouTube will auto-populate it for you. But that's another good one. He says, who cares about what YouTube says? I'm going to stream it anyway. Bring it, CNN. That's hilarious. And then, yeah, so I think we've got... So Tim Pool might be streaming on both. You know what we're all going to do at 9 p.m.? Come up on YouTube and search the debate and look and see how many channels are live currently. And we'll see. But yeah, let's see. Oh, and you're moving to Texas. Well, that could be fun. Texas has a lot of good food depending on where you move. And I was going to say, I think it might be cheaper than Los Angeles for sure. But let's wrap this up. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll see you in one of these chats for the debate. I don't know. I'm definitely going to be over in the chat room for Potentially Criminal's live stream if he does he usually does a Thursday stream. I don't imagine why he wouldn't. But when SCOTUS has new rulings, he talks about them. It does great legal analysis. He's a practicing criminal defense attorney in Ohio. And then just really funny, quick banter. Has good stories. One of my favorite things about him is he has a 3D printed killdozer. If you guys don't know the killdozer story, that is the sometimes reasonable men do unreasonable things. It's an eminent domain story. Just Google the killdozer and read that story quickly on Wikipedia. But when I found out Potentially Criminal had a 3D printed killdozer as part of his YouTube scenery, his setup, I was like, this is a great channel. He's going to know his trivia, and he knows his criminal law and civil law pretty well. So I love it over there. Great chat. A lot of you guys in here I see over in the chat on Potentially Criminal's channel. And that'll be good if you're not really interested in watching the debate, but want some commentary that's, still legal topics and viral news. So great over there. And then, oh yeah, Aisha, are you in Texas too then? I feel like when it comes to the United States, there's 4 states. There's New York, there's California, there's Texas, there's Florida. Everywhere else is kind of most people are in one of those 4 kind of corners a little bit, because California is kind of running up north. And then let's see. So let's wrap this up, you guys. Again, I think we've got suggestions for if you want to watch the debate. Let me get this right. Tim Pool, Rob Gavea, Viva Fry, Dearwoke Christian, Professor Nez, obviously CNN, at least streaming on their website. And then, yeah, I'm sure, just see who else is streaming it, and if people get kicked, I'm gonna laugh. It's gonna be, CNN's gonna have to keep hitting the ban hammer on all these different creators. It'll be funny. You guys all have a good one. Thanks for all the great chats. I appreciate you guys as always. And who knows, we'll pick a topic, we'll do a live sometime this weekend. You guys all take care. Have a good night.